Mon Mon.
I really can't believe it. It's just unbelievable. They were like a pack of wild animals. I just cannot believe it. I mean, I know people say, I can't believe when the top of their cheeseburger blows off and lands in a pile of dog muck. But this is different. This is something else. Tony said he'd meet me now, and it's 5-1 already. I've run the same team for the past 7 years and I've never had any problems. I've only been here 3 weeks. Deputy manager to the assistant store manager. I know this place isn't for me. I could tell as soon as I started, this is not my kind of place at all. So when they told me I was being transferred, I was relatively pleased. It wasn't because of the tragedy with the Uncle Ben sauces either. Oh God, I wish Jamie from the warehouse would stop going on about that. I mean, how did he find out anyway? I don't know. And I wish whenever he saw me he'd stop saying, "Hey, Ray-Ban!" Idiots. Thick as thieves, the lot of them. Thick and thieves then from the warehouse. And from the warehouse? Anyway, I overheard one in Clive the other day saying that if you go into the fatting cocks at 4 o'clock on a Thursday, you can help yourself to the amount of chicken tonight and don't meal sauce that are not very cheap. And I've also heard on the Bush Telegraph that recently a delivery load of beef burgers, pizzas and fries had gone missing on the way to us. And conveniently, the Fighting Cocks have an all-you-can-eat American buffet night. And earlier that same week, James from the warehouse had told me there'd been an accident with the forklift truck and a load of jars had smashed. He said some of the lads had cleaned it all and he'd filled in the paperwork and not to worry about it, really. Well, I've been to see Tony 8 times since and asked him to see the paperwork, but he just keeps saying, "I'm doing it, Roy. I'm very busy. Please stop making a fuss." But I am going to make a fuss. That paperwork should have come to me first, then to Dave, and then to Tony. There's a chain of command in place for a reason, and I will not be overlooked. There's something going on. But during my second week, I confided my suspicions to Martine from personnel. And I managed to catch her, just as she was on her way to the toilet. She dealt with my transfer, she knows all about me. Lovely girl. Very attractive. And I managed to catch her, and I said, "I'm thinking about going down to the Fighting Cocks and confronting the situation with the stock that keeps going missing." And she just told me, anybody who goes into there with 2 ears is already overdressed. I think she was trying to protect my best interests, but it takes more than that to put me off. So, I went down, and I ordered half a lager and a plate of chips. I think it's a bit worrying when you see on the menu just curry, with no mention of lamb, chicken or beef. And when I sat down, the landlord said, "Would you like half a skullfucker or half a wife beater?" Well, I just ignored it, and I paid for my lager and chips. And I'd noticed that the specials that I was interested in were chicken surprise and spaghetti bolognese. And all I said were, I'd be very interested to know what ingredients went into the sauce. And that's when he started muttering under his breath about fucking bastard food inspectors, and when I told him I wasn't anything to do with the food standard agency, that I was just a curious customer, he told me to leave. Only he said it using Quentin Tarantino language. And I paid for that lager and chips as well. Talking of Quentin Tarantino, that brings me back to what's just happened. Halfway through my second week, Jamie said he'd heard I'd organised team building sessions in the past. And how does he know these things? Well, I told him that I had, and he said he was sure some of the staff around here would be really interested if I organised one. I was pleasantly pleased with his attitude. So I ran it by Tony, and he said, I've already spoken to Jamie about it, go ahead. I have a strict set of guidelines that I follow every time I run a session. Introductory, by me. Introductions to each other, by me. Icebreakers, well, unfortunately, we didn't get past icebreakers on this occasion. Usually the icebreaker involves me, as president of the Film Society, being very knowledgeable about films and the film industry, going around the team and asking everybody, what is your favourite film? There was Jamie, and there was Martine, Warren and Dave from personnel, Slow Joe, Chris, Billy from the warehouse, that stupid Barbara from personnel, and Big Fat Dave and Marge from accounts. None of the floor staff were interested. When I gave my introductory talk, I should have known then, because Jamie and Slow Joe were laughing all the way through it. And Jamie were goading Slow Joe, and I mean, I know Cheaper by the Dozen 1 and 2 aren't on the top 10 of great films, but Jamie just kept going on and saying how rubbish they were. It's like I just wanted to punch him. And then Marge and Barbara started arguing, was Pretty Woman or Love Actually the better film? For goodness sake, they're both terrible. And Big Fat Dave just kept shouting, Avatar! On top of his lungs. Well, after much discussion with Chris and Billy, they were both adamant that Die Hard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever, were the best films ever. You know what? Citizen Kane wasn't even mentioned once. John from the Film Society will be turning in his grave. Jamie was just in the middle of shouting, the last good film that Steve Martin made was when Crash. He went down like a sack of smuts. I can't say I blame Big Dave for smacking on the chair. Martin started screaming and swearing on top of her lungs. I'm beginning to see her in a different light now, to be honest. And Jamie was shouting, you stupid bastard, you weren't supposed to push me over, not fucking half kill me! And it was bedlam. Then, Tony came in to see what all the noise was about. Anyway, it ended with me, not Jamie, not Big Fat Dave, waiting for disciplinary action from Tony, because I was the one who organised the section. It looks like I might be transferred. Again. I'm beginning to think the whole disaster was planned by someone.
To apologise about my get up. I've not long come from work. Just started the new job, working for a financial services investment management firm. It's alright, don't mind it. But my job is essentially to be a kind of like mediator between investment managers who look after all the money and clients who put all the money in. So I often have to take calls, emails, that kind of thing. The firm itself was founded in like the 1700s. Now, I don't know what they were trading back then. Bits of string, rocks, I don't know. And as a result of that, I feel like a lot of the clients might actually be from the 1700s. Because a lot of the ones I seem to deal with are elderly. Now, I've got this one client, Marjorie, her name is. Every time I seem to speak to her, she always sounds as though she's a bit frightened, like she's hiding under the stairs, worried that someone will overhear her and meddle in her affairs. And then I have to deal with the other side of it, which is my boss. And my boss, for the purposes of this, let's just call him Barry Moneybags. Yeah? He has to be the poshest person ever created. I say created, of course, because I can only assume that he was grown in a lab. Some kind of posh person experiment. Seriously. Like, I cannot understand the word he says on the phone. It sounds as though he's underwater. You know, he'll call me up, hello, Marco, how about we take a couple of emails over, and you melt and you mate. And you know what's the song going on there. So I don't have a clue. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a mediator between two highly separate yet completely illegible parties. And I find that difficult. It is difficult trying to mediate between those two. So I've come up with a new plan. I've taken to not doing my job very well. And it seems to be working so far. I'm trying to think of different ways that I can sort of occupy my time at work without actually doing much work. It's a good little technique. I come up with a game, right? And you normally play it during the first half of your morning, before your lunch. I call it Ninja Lunch. Yeah? The idea of Ninja Lunch, right, is to make a phone call, be it to clients, you know, investment manager, someone else within the company, and you have to secretly eat your lunch without them knowing that you're eating on the other end of the phone. So it's a game of time. You've got to time your bites. It's also, it's fun for three reasons really. One, because you're saving time. You know, you've got a whole hour there for your lunch break to go and do whatever you want because you're at your lunch earlier. You can go and lazy juggle, buy a new hat, do what you like. Another reason, you're beating the system, aren't you? Because you were supposed to be working, but instead you were lunching and they were paying you. The third reason why I think it's a good game is the thrill. You know, not getting caught out. Any ninja will tell you that, like. Me and my colleagues, we came up with this other game. And the idea of it is basically, it's called, I'm dizzy, how can I help you? Okay? Now we're now working in a lot of offices, and pretty much everywhere now. I don't know why, but they have these chairs that spin all the way around, full 360. Now, I'm not entirely sure whose job involves them revolving on a regular basis, because mine certainly doesn't. So the only thing I can think of really, that must be for my amusement, surely, that feature is there for us to while away the hours in the office. So, the idea of the game, your phone rings, yeah? Someone, a colleague, or maybe if you're brave, you could try and spin yourself, will spin you around full 360. You have to answer the phone. Hello, how can I help you? You're dizzy, you're disorientated, you don't know what the query is. It's an exciting game. I've recently been trying to combine that with Ninja Lunch. And I think I've inadvertently created the most adrenaline-fueled, chair-based, stimulated game ever. And no one's giving me any credit for that. But that's what we do. We just mess about, take the time up, and then, hey, you can go home. Great. I don't think I want to do that anymore. I don't think I want to be doing that job. I think I want something that's a bit more cushy, a little bit more relaxed. I've decided now that I want to work in a library, yeah, surrounded by books. Because you're not going to get posh people in the library. They don't go to the library. They've read all the books. That's why they're posh. They don't go there, so you won't get them. It's also a pretty like chilled out atmosphere sort of thing. You know, it's just kind of, nice weekend? Yeah, I did, yeah. Anyone fancy a brew? Oh, I'd love one. That book's £8. Then I found out, after doing a bit more research on the matter, I found out that now you've got to actually have a full library qualification. You've got to be a certified librarian. What could that be for? Seriously, you know, guy brings me a book. This book begins with A. I'll put that book with the books will also begin with A. This book here begins with B. You see where I'm going? How can it be that difficult? But I'll do it. I'll do it, yeah. I'll go and do my library training, I'll do my qualification. So then maybe one day, you know, I'm on a plane, something goes wrong, and the captain says over the tannoy, "Is anyone on this plane a librarian?" And I can say, "Oh, move side." I've had the training. You might think I've got a bit of a juvenile attitude to it, and I have. You might think that one day, you know, when you get a 9-to-5 job in a professional environment, that you'll treat it with the utmost respect and professionalism. You won't. No, you won't. Not when you realise that your boss is younger than you, less qualified than you, and earns twice as much as you. The enthusiasm for the entire role just begins to kind of ebb away.
So you're all here for inspirational talk, are you? Aces. Well, my name's Kevin, and I'm going to be your life guide for this evening. Now, don't worry. You're in safe hands. Inspiring minds is what I do. It's my business. And let's just say that business is good. Before I get started, I thought I'd tell you a little bit about myself, you know, about how I got started. And, you know, it's not really part of the inspiring stuff, you know, it's a little extra, really. Like a little bonus feature on a DVD that nobody ever watches. Okay? So it all starts with me sat at my desk at work, you know, listening to my colleagues chatting. I like Pac-Man in a game of Tetris. I thought, I don't fit in here. I need to change it. I'd worked at the same place for about 3 years, and about 6 years worth of work while I was there, all the while listening to other people's drill. On Monday and Tuesday, they'd be talking about what they did at the weekend, you know. And then by Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, they were talking about what they were doing at the upcoming weekend. Mine deadening boring it was, because usually the plan of attack was this. Followed by this. So eventually that gave me the kick in the teeth I needed to get out and try something new. Now don't get me wrong, I drink. Oh yeah. I mean, my father's a recovering alcoholic, so basically it's in my blood. It's in my DVLA. So I don't feel the need to prattle on about to people like yourselves. I mean, I've said, been so drunk that I've fallen asleep in the bath or spewed all over my bed and then tried to scoop it out the window with a teaspoon as next to his arm. We've all done that. But it's just not interesting. But I remember the exact moment that I decided I needed a change. I was listening to some daft woman talk about watching some Peter Andre shit on ITV2. And she called it her guilty pleasure. Now that's something that really annoys me, you know, really gets my goat, the term guilty pleasure. Because, I mean, if you like something, you like it. And you shouldn't feel ashamed of it, you know. I eat pot noodles. Yeah. I watch Doc McStuffins on Disney Junior. You kids know that. I've got songs on my iPod by Justin Bieber. I don't feel the need to label them guilty pleasures because I'm not at all guilty about them. I like what I like. And I don't need somebody else to say so to enjoy what I enjoy. Whether that be slimy food, kids' TV, or dodgy music from a future Canadian rapist. That's another thing about the people that I used to work with, you know. They're always talking about the TV. You know, what's on the TV? Now, I don't watch TV personally. Okay, I do a bit. Okay, of course I watch TV, everybody does. But sometimes I wish I didn't, you know. Sometimes I wish I'd read more horse or listen to more music. But let's be honest, it's so much easier to go home and sit down, switch the TV on and switch the brain off, you know? Yeah, I watch TV, it's one of my guilty pleasures. But having to listen to people talk about the latest music pushes on the X Factor. Ooh! Or the latest shot death from Game of Thrones. Or the woman on embarrassing bodies with a fanny hanging inside. Well, it's like the new James Arthur album. Nobody needs to hear it. So it was that dullness, you know, and having to listen to it day in and day out that made me stand up in the office one day and shout, "Fuck the lawyers! I'm leaving." I didn't actually do that. But I did run into my boss's office and I said, "You could shove your job up your ass." I didn't do that either. But I did go in there and I told him I was leaving and he said, "Good." He was actually an okay guy, you know, a little bit younger than myself, but he always wore the same aftershave as my grandfather. So I always felt comfortable in his office, you know. A couple of times I nearly gave him a big cuddle by mistake. So I decided on a career sidestep, you know, like the kid in the horny helmet in Nightmare, that 80s kids TV show. I wasn't sure where I was sidestepping to, you know. I needed to know what I was good at. Well, not a lot, as it turns out. I mean, I can name all of the Bond films in order. And I can complete Super Mario World and the SNES in just 12 levels. You need to use the star code. And I'm pretty good, you know, at shadow puppets. But none of that is going to keep me off the streets, you know. None of that's going to keep me getting the wolf at my door. So I saw an advert in the paper, and I thought, hey, Super French. I can do that. I may be shit at a lot of things, but that I can do. It was an advert for a page 3 photographer. I'm joking, it wasn't. It was an advert for an Xbox Games Chester. Okay, you got me. It wasn't that either. It was an advert to go and see a motivational speaker. You know, the usual BS like, make new friends, keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. And don't let life get you down because you never know who's falling in love with your smile. Try that again. So like a Tibetan monk staring at a plank of wood, I thought, how hard could it be? I'll give that a go. But originally, I didn't want to, you know, blather just some crap about how strong people are, you know, and how you can get through anything with positive thinking, because anybody can do that. But if you're not mentally tough up here, then no amount of somebody telling you that you are is going to change that. Not in a millennium years. So I Googled it on Ask Jeeves, and I found the top 5 things for becoming a motivational speaker. Number 1, be clear on the topic you wish to discuss. Number 2, keep your message relevant and timely. Yeah. Number 3, know your audience. You there, what's your name?
No.
Done. Number 4, record your speeches and play them back to yourself for future prosperity. And number 5, do your research. You know, students, do your research. I mean, WTF, right? Do your research? I mean, this isn't school. I mean, this is about earning a living, you know, about earning a crutch. So I basically got rid of all that because that shit wasn't for me. I decided to go about things a bit differently, you know. I thought that the only thing that people like yourselves need to know is that every positive has a negative. Wait, scratch that, turn around. Every negative has a positive. Every cloud has a silver lining. You know? And I thought that by telling you some stories about myself, you know, where they've looked bad and then they've turned out good, that might do the trick. You catch my drift? But first off, I needed to change my name. I needed a name that instantly said, control. So I thought to myself, who is in control? Who do I know from my extensive knowledge of the world of people? That is it's just a prophet of self-motivation and ingenuity. And then it came to me, and I'm sure you're all thinking the exact same person. You got it right there, haven't you? Yeah. So allow me to introduce myself under my new name. Hello, everybody. I'll be your motivational speaker for this evening, and my name is Kevin McAllister. Now there's a kid who knows how to do it, right? Harry and Marv didn't stand a chance. Now, in order for me to treat this as a job, I needed gigs. And I've done a lot of gigs, man. I've been all over the world. I've seen some crazy things. But the little guy that runs this thing, he offered me £50 to come here and do my first gig at Edge Hill University. Now, like a fat woman with piles, that just didn't sit right. Not with me. So I went up to him and I said, listen, buddy, do you know who I am? I'm a pretty big deal, I'm the biggest star on the motivational circuit, and you're lucky to get me at such short notice. And I think £50 is a bit of a piss take, to be honest. And then he said, it's £50 nothing. So I suppose actually £50 is quite generous. Almost too much. Considering he didn't know what I was going to come out with tonight. And if I'm honest, that makes two of us. I mean, what stories can I tell now that I've got these young, agile minds before me? What journeys can I take you on to get you to get out there and do your thing? To climb on life's ladder, one rung at a time. While I was thinking about this, a very good friend of mine got herself into a terrible situation. Now, originally I was going to use this as part of my actual speech, but my unique selling point as a speaker is that every cloud has a silver lining. And I don't think the lining of this cloud is silver enough. But in the words of Magnus Mackerson, I've started, so I'll finish. But just to let you know, this isn't part of my actual motivational speech. That comes later. Okay. So my friend Deirdre, she's out on the beach at silly o'clock in the morning. She'd taken to go to walks on the beach at silly o'clock in the morning because she was stressed about work and stuff. So here she is, my friend Deirdre. She's there at 4 o'clock in the morning on the beach at a tide. And all of a sudden, when she's walking along, her foot gets grabbed from underneath. Now, not in a fist punching out of the grave kind of way, like in the Thriller video, but in a not very believable but true anyway quicksand kind of way. Now I thought, like you, that quicksand was just something used in charming kids' movies, like The Princess Bride and The Never-Ending Story. But that shit is real, and it'll get you. So she's walking along, and her foot gets clamped. As she's struggling to try and get free, her foot gets clamped. Now I know about this story because she rang me on my phone. She left me a voicemail. Well, actually, she left me two. Now the first voicemail, she started to panic now because the sand is up to her waist, and she can't move, she's still struggling, and she's saying, help me, please God, help me. You've got to help me, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. Now this is distressing for me to hear for two reasons. One, because the fear in her voice is so raw, genuine. And two, because while she's speaking to me on the phone, I'm asleep in my bed, snoring, farting, and dripping on my pillow. Now the second voicemail is even more distressing, because at this point, the sand is now up to her chest, and she's finding it hard to breathe, and she's only got one hand free, but she's using to call me on the phone. Why she can call 911, I'll never know, or 999, I suppose. Did you know that if you ring 911 in this country, you automatically get through to 999? Anybody know that? Apparently, us British people are so stupid and watch so much shitty American television that we think the number for 999 is actually 911, when actually they were just a moderately successful boy band in the 90s. So they had to make the numbers the same, you see. Crazy, huh? Good old US of A. Anyway, back to dinner. Saying hello. Phone, screaming, afraid. And all of a sudden, she lets out a scream of excitement. She says, "There's a dog! I can see a dog in the distance." And she calls the dog, and the dog comes over to her. Now at this point in the story, I'm smiling from ear to ear when I'm listening to this because I'm imagining the headlines the next day, you know. Dog saves woman from quicksand, or super dog to the rescue. But then she starts talking to the dog in that stupid way that people talk to dogs for some reason. She says, "He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Have you come to save me? Have you come to save Deirdre?" And then she lets out an almighty scream. Ah! And then she starts spitting and gargling and making awful noises, and then the phone goes dead. I'm sorry, this is very hard for me to talk about. Her body washed up on the shore 10 days later, nibbled by crabs. And when they were doing the autopsy on her body, they found a hell of a lot of salt water in her system, which is understandable because she did drown in the sea. But they also found traces of canine urine. Now just think about that. Because when I think about that, I see my friend, my good friend Deirdre, seeing this dog as the last hope for her survival. And she calls the dog over, and the dog does come over because I hear it on the phone, and the dog does come over, probably gives her a sniff, and then pisses all over her face. And then leaves her there to drown. Well, we see why I didn't use that. My actual motivational speech. Not much silver lining to that cloud. Not much positive to all that horrible negative. But there is one thing, one small nugget of wisdom that we can all take from that story. There's only one, and it's very, very small. All of you now know to never, ever, ever get a dog, because they're fucking useless. I do apologize. Anyway, that's the depressive side out of the way. You know, the little extra DVD bonus feature I promised. So now it's time to start with my actual motivational speech. Let me just center myself. Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin, and I'll be your life guide for this evening. Now, a lot of people ask me if I'm sorry, what? What are you saying? Your mouth is, I can't hear you. Why are you making hand gestures? Fuck off. Well, apparently, I have run out of time. Shit! Fuck! Shit, fuck! Well, I've got to go! But before I go, I'm going to leave you with the final thought of my speech. Only leave until tomorrow what you are willing to have died left undone. Thank you.
People tell me I've got low self-esteem. Over the years, that is. I mean, I'm 30 next birthday. And if that's true, if I have got low self-esteem, then why do I seem to think I can change people? Look at Tony. I mean, I knew him better than anyone. And deep down, I really thought I could change him. Tony was my first boyfriend. We grew up in Castlefields. You know, we were kids together and then we knocked about together as teenagers. It was always Tony and Nat and Tony. You know, I went to Holy Angels and he went to De La Salle. He was a proddy. I thought my dad would go daft when he found out. But he didn't. And I suppose things like that didn't really matter anymore after my mum left. There was a gang of us. There was lads and girls. And we'd all catch the 3:10 down to the Queen's Drive for the baths every Tuesday after school. But you never would have known that me and Tony were seeing one another because we hardly said a word to one another. But then there'd be something else going on. I'd catch Tony's eye. And I just knew. There was no one else. It's not there anymore. The baths. They pulled it down. And now it's one of those NHS walk-in centres. But the reason why I'm telling you this, there was this lad who was there at the baths every Tuesday when we were. He was on his own. And there was something wrong with him. He had like a disability. We used to call him Mongol. I mean, I know that's offensive now, but that's what we used to call him. He always had this little red rubbery swimming cap on that had a little bit on the top that looked like a T. All the lads used to call him Johnny Head. Oi! Johnny Head! Give us a go on your cap! And they'd be trying to pull it off him, and you know, the lifeguard would be there and he'd just turn a blind eye and pretend he couldn't see. And all the lads would be diving in practically on top of him. Johnny would be there laughing along, you know, but you could see he was scared. But there was this one day, the lads took it too far. We were on the bus down to Queen's Drive, going to baths, and all the lads were taking the piss out of this fella in front of us. You know, he was an older bloke, he was about 40. And he just ignored them to begin with. And I don't know what was said, or who said it, but this fella just turned on Tony. He went ape shit. He had him round the throat, he had him up against the glass. Tony couldn't breathe, he was going ape shit. He was going, ugh. His face was going beetroot. This fella made him apologise for what he'd said. I made him say it again, louder. We all just sat there. None of the other lads stepped in. I suppose they were just glad that it wasn't one of them. As we started piling off the bus at our stop, the doors were closing and someone shouted, "Wanker!" We all tried to laugh it off. Tony was fuming. He didn't want to mention it again after that. I suggested we just give the baths a miss and head on down to Mackey's. No one else wanted to. I wish Tony had just changed his mind and said he'd gone home. I'd have gone with him if he had. So we're in the baths, and Johnny's there too. He's hanging off the sides as usual with his little red cap. And the lads doing the same thing to him. They're trying to pull the cap off his head, they're diving in. But this time Johnny's putting his hands up to his head. He's saying he's got a headache, and we're all being too noisy. So some of the lads back off and leave him alone. But not Tony. Tony just keeps jumping in, keeps mithering in. And this lad, Johnny, he's pleading with Tony to leave him alone. That just makes Tony worse. The next thing is Johnny's let go of the side and he's thrashing about in the water and he can't keep his head above water. Tony's just there. He's the closest and he's not doing anything to help. The next thing is they pulled Johnny out the bath. He's not moving. We don't hang about, we get out quick, we get dressed. But I make up some excuse for why I'm not going to McDonald's. I said, oh, my dad wants me home straight away. I just wanted to be on my own. I didn't want to be around Tony. I hung on a bit. I stayed in the foyer getting a can of Coke out the vending machine and the bloody thing gets jammed. So I'm waiting for the person with the keys to come from the office to get it out. There's an ambulance outside the entrance. With the driver, the paramedic. There's no one there. It's all quiet. Calm even. And then this hackney cab pulls up behind the ambulance. And out gets this little woman. And I guess she was old because of the time it's taken her to pay the taxi man. She drops her purse and this young couple who are passing by help her to pick up her money. But the taxi man's just sat there in his taxi, holds out his hand. He's not going to get out and help. She's trying to move quick, but you can see she's not good on her feet. She's got a hand on the handrail. She's concentrating really hard and not missing a single step. So she doesn't see the paramedics coming out the entrance. They're carrying a stretcher between them. I know it must be Johnny. I know he must be dead. Because there's this blanket over him and it's pulled right up over his face. She gets to the top of the stairs. She looks up and they're just there. I'm not close enough to hear what's being said, but I don't need to be. Paramedic's shaking his head. And she's nodding, like she understands. She turns round, follows him down the stairs. She's got both hands on the handrail now, just to steady herself. They carry the stretcher into the back of the ambulance, and they help her in afterwards. And every time I picture her, the expression on her face, I can feel her pain. I didn't tell the others about what I saw. I didn't speak of it again. Me and Tony stayed together after that, or until I got pregnant with Bobby. And my priorities had to change, but not Tony's. That was my mistake as well, wasn't it? If I'd have just said something, if I'd have just got him to stop harassing that lad, maybe I could have made it different. And I should have known, shouldn't I? Tony wouldn't change.
I started ejaculating when I was about 13. After getting over the initial shock of what had just come out the end of my penis, I realised that I loved him. It's the best feeling in the world. It's free. You're going to pay for it. Keep your drugs. You can do it as many times as you like. Nobody's going to stop you. I don't know where you do it. I since that first time, I was hooked. Addicted, you might say. I made a promise to myself to do it at least once a day for the rest of my life. And I stuck to it. If you're wondering, yes, I have had one today. Throughout school, you know, it was all good fun and games and stuff, having the lads and that, about how many times you do it and things, and I lost a few girlfriends along the way, admittedly. Some either caught me doing it and got offended because they thought, you know, I was supposed to be all about them. And it's not necessarily about them, it's kind of about me. About what I need to do. And yeah, the girlfriends came and went. But through my addiction to masturbation came another addiction, pornography. Started becoming reliant on it. Started, you know, wanking a bit more. I was a team leader at a call centre, and I continued my promise. In fact, I started doing it more and more. Got into a bit of a routine. Wake up. Now, go to work. Lunchtime, slide off to the toilet, polish it off. Back to work with a straight head. Get home, knock one out, go about my business, make some dinner, do my chores in the evening, bedtime, knock one out. So it was roughly about 4 times a day. Now, it started messing with my head a little bit, admittedly. Working in an office environment, there's obviously going to be ladies wearing skirts, low-cut tops, and it became more and more difficult for me to be productive, really, within my working environment. Some people eventually overheard me in the toilet, and eventually became Eric, the dirty pervert. It was actually one day while I was at work, I slid off to the disabled toilets, and well, with the technology these days, you can get porn on your phone, so I took full advantage of that, and began cleaning my shaft. Now I was just going about my business like I normally do, watching a video that I'd already seen before, you know, they're the best ones to go for normally, unless you've got time to browse. And whilst I was busy watching my phone, I received a phone call from my mum. And obviously I'm halfway through. And now I'm in a bit of a conundrum. Do I answer the phone? Bear in mind, my mum's just had an operation. Do I answer the phone mid-wank and carry on like normal, or do I just, so I leave it? I leave it, let it go, and think, oh, I probably should have answered that, or I just finish off and then, oh, I wonder if she's alright. Oh no. And now it's ruined. And there's nothing worse than being cut off mid-wank. It was about then that I figured I'd probably got a bit of a problem. So I went to see a sex therapist. And yeah, I got hypersexuality. But what they were trying to get me to do was, you know, slowly phase it out, cut it down, eventually, you know, come to some sort of psychological equilibrium. But I didn't see it that way. See, it's natural, isn't it? Ejaculating, it's what we love doing, it feels amazing. It's like God's way of saying, go on son, you're doing the right thing, making babies, or practicing. So it didn't work for me, the therapy. Made me more depressed, if anything, because I felt like a social outcast. So, what did I do? Hold myself up in the bedroom. days, hours, weeks. I'd spend a couple of hours looking for the right kind of video, you know. See one and think, oh, that looks alright, and then you get onto it and, oh, no. You start to know straight away. In about 10 seconds, you know if it's worth watching or not. I mean, there is a vast expanse of pornography. An endless collection of genres. With some of the amateur stuff, sometimes when I'm watching that, I'll clock onto the music that they're playing in the background, you know, the CD hotel rooms. That's Bruno Mars. I wonder if Bruno Mars knows what they're doing to his music. Anyway, I started watching these pornographic films, and eventually I realised that they need to be believable. You know, I can't just watch a film where somebody turns up, the plumber turns up to a desperate housewife and fixes her pipes. I needed more. So I started sending off emails with my own stories, ones that I thought were good. I'd watch these porn films, and I'd see American ones dubbed into foreign languages. You know, and they'd come in and do the speaking bit, and then they'd say it all in French or Spanish or whatever. And then they get down to it, you know, the business. But what I can only assume is continuity. The people who were doing the voiceovers would carry on doing the, like the groans and the moans. So you just hear some foreign person going, yeah, oui, ça suffit, ça suffit. I thought, that's a good job to have, really, isn't it? That doesn't sound good in the studio, just doing that all day. You don't even got the pressure of being on camera. Well, anyway, about 3 months after I've been sending these emails off with stories and things, I got an email back from a film company called Midas Touch. They liked one of my stories, and they wanted me to help assist and direct one of their films. So I went there. And what can I say? It's an environment I finally felt comfortable in. And help out. Obviously, you know, get a bit of one on. And when I needed to pop off for one, nobody minded. It was fine. It was what was expected, if anything. So it's just kind of strange, really, how what I thought was a terrible problem is now earning me a shitload of money. I guess, like all my films, this story has a happy ending.